Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to another episode of the South Carolina Gamecocks Dynasty here on EA Sports College Football 25, and today we're finally ready to officially start the 2028 college football season. Now, we're not going to go through a game today because it is week 0 and we don't play in week 0, but some teams do, and so I thought this would be a good last time to kind of get you guys ready for the season. And today we're going to take our first look at some of the recruits and specifically the 5-star recruits that we are targeting this season, because this is the most 5 stars we've had interested in our program. So we're going to go all in and try to get these guys, go boom or bust. So I want to introduce you guys to the 5-star first, considering those will be our primary targets. So if you're excited for this one, make sure you drop a like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. Now we are in week 0. Some teams do play today, so we'll take a look at some of the top stories. We'll see Troy take on NC State in week 0. Number 18, West Virginia will have their FCS opponent this week. And then here's, again, a look at the rankings. We come in at preseason number 12, so with a good chance at the college football playoff. But let's go ahead and look at some of the recruits that we will be targeting. I'm not going to show you the whole board, just the 5 stars. And there are, you can see on the left, there's going to be 8 5 stars that we go through today, all interested in our program. Now, I have them ranked from my favorite to my least favorite of the 8. So we'll start off with the guy at number 1. That is Chad Pierspacher from Orlando Christian Prep, a private Christian school in Orlando, Florida. And as you can expect, he's going to have all the big-time players interested in him, including all the big Florida schools. The Gators, Miami's up there, Florida State, UCF. But you also have to worry about Georgia, Auburn, and Clemson. It's going to be a dogfight for Pierspacher. He's the 12th best recruit in the entire country. And the reason why he's so good is look at those strength and power moves. 90 strength, 85 power moves already at 6'4", 285. A great edge rusher with 84 speed, 81 hit power. Everything across the board is good. Even his play rec's already at the 70. So he's a very high aware player early. You know, he's a guy that's for a reason a 5-star. And he's a gem. So I think all that puts Pierspacher as my favorite of the 8 recruits we're going to go through today. Next up, we have linebacker Quincy Clinton. Also, a side note, all the 8s are on defense. So, trying to replace a lot of our defense and keep it strong. We're going to go after 8 5-star defensive men. But Quincy Clinton's linebacker from Decatur High School in Decatur, Alabama. Same high school that Rolando McClain went to. So, another NFL linebacker. Same schools you'd expect here. Auburn, Alabama at the top, considering he is in state. And then Georgia, Miami, USC, and UAB up there as well. Clemson's up there, but they haven't offered him a scholarship, which is a little concerning, because if the Tigers ever come around to it, he might go higher up their board. But Clinton's a pass coverage linebacker, 78 zone with 90 speed. That is a man who can fly around the field. 70 man as well. 80 change of direction, 80 agility. He's got quick feet, 6', 221. Maybe not as tall as you'd expect, but he can get around. He's got 78 awareness. This is a good player. Him and Pierspacher are easily my 1 and 2. I would love to get either one of those players on this team. This man will fly around the field. I don't see why he can't get at least 100 tackles and a couple of interceptions in a season. Number 3, we have left in Dave Kiernan from Houston High School, but he's not from Texas. He's from Germantown, Tennessee, which is a really small school. 13th best recruit in the country, though, and he's gained the attention of a lot of schools like NC State, Tennessee, Kansas State, West Virginia, Arkansas, and UAB are the ones who've offered a scholarship so far on top of us. 6'4", 276, a pretty big man. He's a power rusher as well with 89 strength and 84 power moves, 83 speed. A lot of the same player as Pierspacher. I think what puts Pierspacher ahead for me is that gym trait, so we know he's going to develop a lot better. But Dave Kiernan is also a good defensive lineman. Speaking of the defensive line, we got a couple more right in. Paul Maje from North Gwinnett High School in Suwanee, Georgia. And this is a high school that's known for creating some tight ends. Jared Cook, CJ Uzoma, just to name a few. And interesting story enough, Maje was actually a tight end to begin his career when he got here. But he's gotten so much bigger. He's hit so much of a growth spurt late in his career that he's switched to defensive end. He now weighs 6'4", 301 pounds. So his days as a tight end seem like a long time ago. Now, unfortunately, it looks like he is heavily leaning towards the Bulldogs for this one. It's going to be tough to overcome that battle, but we're going to try regardless because, again, I like his skill set. 89 strength, 84 power moves, 83 speed, 83 hit power. Another solid defensive lineman. A lot like Kieran, though, which is why I put Kieran above Maje, because I feel like Kieran's a little bit more obtainable than Paul Maje. even though we'll probably see Myjay on the field, especially if he goes to Georgia. Last defensive lineman we'll take a look at is Eric Levrone from the Bulls School. It's a private school in Jacksonville, Florida. The Gators and the Bulldogs out in front of us, but it's still a fight with Miami and Georgia Tech, Florida State, and UCF. You know, he's more of a run stopper, 6'5", 267. His top trait is his block shedding with an 83 block shed. 80 play rec, though, is really good for a freshman. This man is a smart player. His awareness is a little bit low, but when he does finally lock on, he can lock on. He can get to the ball carrier, stop him in the backfield. 73 speed is a little low, though, so he's not as fast as some of the other guys, which is why I have him as my last defensive lineman. But if we were to get a player like Eric Levrone, that'd be great. The other three guys are all in the secondary. Starting off at strong safety, we have Frank Kennedy from the IMG Academy. We're targeting a guy from IMG, which means a lot of players, or a lot of schools, are going to be targeting that same player. All the big names at the front, Miami and Clemson, currently out in front for him. He's a run-stopping, strong safety, 6', 208. He can lay the boom. 85 hit power with that 75 zone coverage, 92 speed. You know, he is a box safety. I mean, with that hit power, I'm assuming his block shedding is pretty good as well. His coverage isn't his strong suit, but that's why he plays closer to the line. He's more of a run stopper, as his tendency seems to say. And we could use some more depth in the secondary. We're going to be losing a lot of specifically corners this year, so let's try to replace them. A couple of corners, speaking of, at the 5-star, Jaleel Griggs from Hillsborough High School in Tampa, Florida. A lot of guys from Florida interested in our school, which means a lot of other people are going to be as well. But there's only 4 scholarships currently on the table for Griggs. However, he does seem like he is heavily favoring the defending national champion in Miami Hurricanes. But there is Florida and Rutgers there as well. He's a man coverage corner, but he only has 76 man coverage. He does have that 95 speed, though, and 85 press, so that is kind of standing out. However, his Jim says he's a bust, so that's why he's a little bit down on my board. I'm not as high on Griggs, and I don't think we're really going to get him, but we'll see him as well as the season goes on. And then finally, we have another 5-star corner in Alexander Soward. Like Griggs, though, he is a bust, but he is more of a zone corner, and he's all the way from the other side of the country. He attends Deer Valley High School in Antioch, California, the same high school that cornerback Sterling Moore went to. And he's favoring a lot of California schools, which is kind of cool to see those in the race. I'm not used to seeing schools like Oregon, Stanford, Washington, USC, and Oregon State, teams that we're battling with, but kind of cool. He is a zone corner, 83 zone, 73 man, 89 speed's a little bit lower, so he's not as high on my board, but you know, he is a 5-star, so I'd love to have him. But those are the 8 5-stars that we are targeting going into the season. We'll see how it plays out, but now for the rest of the episode, we'll take a look at actually the scores and see what happened in Week 0. Here are the top games going into Week 0. Troy actually is home against that 21-ranked NC State team. Virginia Tech and Maryland will do battle, not a rivalry, but there's 2 states that are right next to each other. Boise State, last year's Pac-12 champ, so I expect big things out of this year. We'll go to Jacksonville State. Then Oregon, who's unranked, will head to Utah State. As we simulate the week, some of the top stories: West Virginia will now face Tennessee in Week 1 in a big-time non-conference clash between 2 ranked teams. Pittsburgh and Notre Dame also do battle. Those are rivals, and they will meet Week 1. And we'll also see a good performance from Ben Kuhn from Maryland, despite the fact that they did not win that game, by the way. And then NC State did beat Troy. P.J. Matakevich had a good game for the Wolfpack. Here are your scores. Virginia Tech did knock off Maryland 31-25. Syracuse put the hurting on Florida Atlantic 41-10. Northern Illinois gets their season off to a strong start by knocking off Colorado State pretty handily. And then the game of the week, game day was in Troy, but they lose to NC State 24-14. Oregon gets it done against Utah State 21-3. And then Jacksonville State knocks off Boise State. It's a big loss for the Broncos. They were my potential Group of 5 representative this year. This loss definitely hurts those chances. And then finally in Hawaii, Kansas wins 19-16. Here are your players of the week. It's the same 2 you saw on the top story, so we won't spend too much time, but it is Ben Kuhn and P.J. Matakevich. Here's your top scores or your big games going into week number 1. Notre Dame and Pittsburgh we talked about. West Virginia and Tennessee as well. Those are the 2 ranked versus ranked teams. Florida will go to Georgia Tech, and then Oregon will host USC. That's a big game, even though the Ducks are not ranked. They're a scary team. Number 1, USC has to start their season against a team that's already played. We start our season in a rivalry renewed, the Battle of the Carolinas, as we host the North Carolina Tar Heels. We looked at their team in the last episode. We previewed the season. they're a decent team. They're not, in my opinion, a ranked team, but they're a Power 4 school, and that's a school you cannot overlook, especially in the renewing of a rivalry. The Carolina battle, we haven't seen this in quite some years, so, players on both sides will be a little fired up. It's also the beginning of the season, and anything can happen in week number 1. But like I've said so many times, if we want to be a college football playoff contender, we have to win this game. Get off to a 1-0 start and start your year strong and push for that playoff. But thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to finally get into the season portion of the Gamecocks next episode. If you guys enjoyed, let me know in the comment section below what recruits stood out to you and what your prediction is for the Gamecocks going into the 2028 season. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop that like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.